Having been through some of the hardest military training in the world, I get asked a lot of questions from my YouTube and social media network about how fast do I need to be to make it through special operations training. To answer their questions, or your questions, let's discuss how fast you need to be with an emphasis on mission requirements, training requirements, fitness standards for all branches, running form, and I'll finish off with some recommendations. My cousin was a machine gunner in Ranger Battalion in Afghanistan and then Iraq, and then he got out and became an investment broker with a Fortune 500 company. One day, over a cup of coffee, we started talking about how important it is to be a good runner in the infantry and special operations. In combat arm branches, at different parts of the training cycle, being one of the fastest runners in the unit will give you an inappropriately high status within that unit. Dude, did you hear? Fitzpatrick just ran his 2 miles in 10 minutes and 20 seconds. That guy's a legend. I think he was on the track team at West Point. We both laughingly admitted that we were below average runners and that it seemed like we had to give 110% just to hang on. I guess that coming from a distinguished line of wealthy aristocrats, yeah, I wish, didn't give us any natural gifts when it came to running. I told him that during my time in Special Forces, every morning for physical training, I would run like my life depended on it. And still, there were guys who would fly past me like I was standing still while having a conversation. I was always envious of those men because they were either great runners or they had great running form. When talking about running and special operations, let's begin our discussion with requirements. What are the requirements? In a combat situation, you might need to ruck or patrol or be on your feet all day long, but likely you will not need to run all day. You may need to sprint from building to building, from one covered and concealed location to another. You may need to sprint to the high ground to gain the tactical edge, but there isn't really a requirement to run 4 miles in 36 minutes in a combat situation. And yet, that's how many combat arms units train. Better yet would be to do explosive sprints with gear, 100-meter dashes in full kit. So the actual requirement points to sprinting being more important than distance running. And this is why special operators usually put on a lot more weight and muscle when they get to their teams than when they were going through their respective training pipelines. Yet, in training, special operations candidates have their endurance tested through rucking and running, and in some communities, swimming. I've always said that special operations training is mental, through the physical. And so the training pipelines must use endurance events to see if you, number 1, have physical endurance, and number 2, to see if you have the mental endurance, internal drive, and self-motivation required to push yourself to the extreme. I know we ran a lot and frequently during physical training in the Special Forces qualification course, but there were several timed runs that stood out as must-pass events. The first and easiest was a 2-mile run for time on a track during the Army Physical Fitness Test, or APFT, during the first hours of selection. We also had several events in selection where they told us to run down the street and follow the cones. We didn't know if we were going to run 1 mile or 12, so you had to choose the pace that you thought was right. Scuba school was the most miserable running of my life. We would do formation runs out along Fleming Key at a 6:45-mile pace, and then we were released to run back as fast as we could to the barracks. We also had several must-pass formation runs at scuba school, the longest of which was 9 miles. But I remember the pace being slow for that specific run, plus or minus a 7:30-minute mile pace. I give advice to future Ranger School students that they need to be able to run 5 miles in 40 minutes with no or little sleep and when absolutely physically exhausted. Those are the significant runs that I remember from my training pipeline. And honestly, from knowing and seeing how fit my colleagues were from other branches, I suspect that other SOF units have even higher running standards. And this brings me to fitness tests. As far as running goes, the current Army Combat Fitness Test includes a 2-mile run. The standard for 100% is 13 minutes and 22 seconds for men, and 2 minutes and 7 seconds slower for women. NAVSPEC War requires a PST or physical screening test for aspiring SEALs and SWCs that includes a 1.5-mile run. SEALSWCC.com reports that the average score for a SWCC is 10 minutes, but the minimum is 12. For an enlisted SEAL, the average is 9:30, but the minimum is 10:30. And for a SEAL officer, the average is 9 minutes, but the minimum is 10:30. The current MARSOC fitness test includes a 3-mile run. 22 minutes and 10 seconds is passing. Under 19 minutes and 35 seconds is the 90th percentile, but under 18 minutes or a 6-minute mile is 100%. The AFSOC Physical Ability and Stamina Test, or PAST, is now called the Air Force Special Warfare Initial Fitness Test, and as far as running goes, it includes a 1.5-mile run. The minimum is 10 minutes and 20 seconds. If you plan on joining AFSOC as an officer, your fitness test run will be 3 miles long. The takeaway here is that you should never just meet the standards. Exceed them. Do your best. The Special Operations community is very competitive. As I said in my Special Operations Fitness Test video, a 6:30 mile is a good minimum standard for anyone wanting to join Special Operations. A 7-minute mile is dangerously borderline, and a 7:30 mile is below average. 4 men from my university went into Army Special Forces, but one of them was a track athlete while in school. I'll never forget watching him run for the first time during an Army fitness test. It was amazing. This guy was running like lightning, and it looked so effortless. At this point in my career, I was a clunky and inefficient runner. I was all heart with terrible form. He ran a 6-minute mile and made it look effortless. I ran a 6:45 mile and my heart almost exploded out of my chest. I can't emphasize this enough. If you want to be in the military, and especially the Special Operations community, you need to learn how to run. There are several great running resources here on YouTube, but I really recommend that you seek out your local track coach, get some professional pointers, do some drills. And then, if you need a little encouragement or a challenge, our Special Operations Fitness program contains sprints and shuttle runs, some track work, some hill workouts and drills, 2 bike workouts, some cross-training opportunities, and 6 ruck marches for time. Believe me, this will help improve your running speed and stamina. Okay, there you have it, a quick roll-up of how fast you need to be successful in the military and Special Operations community. If you can run a 6-minute mile with less effort than the Neanderthal next to you who's running his 8-minute mile, then you are much more likely to pass the running portion of your training pipeline and make it into the prestigious Special Operations community. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to join my Life as a Special Operations team, and to forward this video to a friend who needs to see it. Life is a special operation. Are you ready for it?